You've probably seen it happen. Someone you know, maybe a friend or a family member, suddenly stops picking up your calls, ignores your messages, and acts like you don't exist. It's like they've flipped a switch and cut you off completely. But have you ever wondered what's going on in their mind? What drives a person to cut everyone off without so much as an explanation? It's a puzzling behavior, and it's more common than you might think. Today, we are diving into the psychology behind it. Understanding this phenomenon can help us navigate our relationships better and maybe even help those who struggle with this tendency. So, let's get started. The emotional reasons behind cutting people off. Have you ever noticed how some people suddenly disappear from your life, like a ghost vanishing into thin air? It's jarring, often leaving us wondering what went wrong. Behind this behavior, there's usually a storm of emotions driving the decision to cut ties. One major factor is emotional exhaustion. Think of it like a phone battery running out of juice. Constant negativity, unsupportive relationships, or even just being around people who drain your energy can leave someone feeling spent. Over time, this exhaustion can build up, making the easiest solution seem like cutting off contact altogether. Another powerful force behind cutting people off is the need for self-preservation. Humans have a built-in survival mechanism that kicks in when we feel threatened, and not all threats are physical. Emotional or psychological threats can be just as damaging. For instance, if someone is constantly criticized, manipulated, or belittled, their mind might decide that the healthiest choice is to remove the source of that harm. This is often seen in cases of toxic relationships or friendships. The person cutting off contact isn't just trying to avoid drama, they're trying to protect their mental and emotional well-being. Then there's the role of unresolved pain or trauma. People often cut off contact when they're dealing with emotions that are too painful to face, especially if those emotions are tied to specific individuals. For example, if someone has been hurt by a family member, they might avoid that person to prevent reopening old wounds. It's like slamming a door shut to keep out a bit of wind. In these cases, cutting people off isn't about the other person, it's about managing one's own pain. However, it's important to note that this coping mechanism isn't always healthy in the long run, as it can lead to isolation and unprocessed emotions. The role of personality traits in cutting people off. Personality traits significantly influence why some people choose to cut others off. High neuroticism often correlates with this behavior. Individuals with high neuroticism tend to be more emotionally reactive and prone to stress. They might cut people off when faced with minor conflicts or perceived slights. For instance, a person with high neuroticism might end a friendship over a simple misunderstanding, interpreting it as a personal attack. Conscientiousness also plays a role. Those highly conscientious individuals often have strong moral standards and expectations. When others fail to meet these standards, they may feel compelled to cut them off. Picture a conscientious person who values punctuality. If a friend is consistently late, they might decide to end the friendship rather than address the issue. On the other hand, individuals with high levels of agreeableness are less likely to cut people off. They tend to be more forgiving and understanding. However, even agreeable individuals might reach a breaking point. For example, someone who is usually forgiving might cut off a toxic family member after years of emotional manipulation. Extroversion can also influence this behavior. Extroverts often have large social circles and may cut people off more easily, as they have plenty of other connections to rely on. Introverts, however, might struggle more with cutting people off due to their smaller social circles and the energy it takes to form new connections. An extrovert might quickly move on from a fallen-out friendship, while an introvert might agonize over the loss. The impact of past experiences on cutting people off. Past experiences shape us, often leaving invisible scars that influence how we interact with others. Those who cut people off often carry heavy baggage from their past, shaping their present actions. Consider a child who grew up in a volatile environment, where outbursts and drama were regular occurrences. As an adult, they might struggle with trust and patience, quickly severing ties when conflicts arise, reminiscent of the instability they once knew. The brain's role in this is crucial. Trauma, particularly in childhood, can alter the brain's stress response system. This makes individuals more sensitive to perceived threats, both real and imagined. Someone who experienced betrayal in the past might interpret innocent actions as potential threats. A friend canceling plans last minute might not seem like a big deal to most, but to someone with past wounds, it could feel like a repeat of a past abandonment. This heightened sensitivity can lead to abrupt decisions, like cutting people off, as a protective measure. Moreover, past experiences can create a belief that people are inherently untrustworthy or hurtful. This belief often stems from consistent negative experiences in the past. For instance, someone who was repeatedly let down by friends might start to expect this behavior from everyone. They might preemptively cut people off, believing it's better to be alone than to risk being hurt again. This is a defense mechanism, a way to regain control and protect oneself from perceived harm. It's a stark reminder of how past experiences can dictate present actions, shaping our relationships in profound ways. The communication breakdown leading to cutting people off. You know how sometimes you'll be in the middle of a conversation and suddenly it feels like you're speaking different languages? That's often the first sign of a communication breakdown. It's not just about words, but about understanding, empathy, and connection. When people feel unseen or unheard, resentment builds. Like when you're trying to explain why you're stressed, and the other person starts giving advice before you've even finished speaking. It's frustrating, right? That's because advice, in that moment, isn't what you need. What you need is acknowledgement. But when that acknowledgement doesn't come, the conversation breaks down. And if that happens often enough, people start to drift apart. Consider how often we interrupt each other. Research shows that interruptions happen every 12 seconds on average in conversations. That's a lot. And each interruption is a tiny breach in communication. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain open. You can pour and pour, but you're not getting anywhere. Over time, these interruptions accumulate. The other person might start to feel like their thoughts and feelings don't matter. They might withdraw, and before you know it, there's a chasm between you. It's not about the big arguments, but the small, constant dismissals that erode the connection. Then there's the issue of assumptions. We all make them, but when we act on them without checking, we can cause real damage. For example, you might assume your friend is upset because they're quiet, but really, they're just tired. But if you accuse them of being upset, they might get upset because they feel misunderstood. It's a cycle that can be hard to break. Assumptions lead to miscommunications. Miscommunications lead to hurt feelings, and hurt feelings lead to distance. It's a slippery slope. That's why open, honest communication is so crucial. It's the only way to bridge the gap when assumptions start to take over. The consequences of cutting people off. Have you ever noticed how cutting people off can leave a void in your life? That's because it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it might seem like a quick fix to avoid drama or toxic relationships. On the other hand, it can lead to a sense of isolation and loneliness. The immediate relief from conflict can be tempting, but the long-term consequences often outweigh the short-term benefits. For instance, suddenly ghosting a friend or family member might stop an argument, but it also severs a support system that could have helped navigate through tough times. It's like pruning a tree too harshly. You might get rid of some dead branches, but you also risk damaging the healthy parts. Relationships, like trees, need nurturing and care. When you cut people off abruptly, you're not just ending a conflict, you're also cutting off potential for growth and understanding. A study by the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that people who use avoidance strategies, like cutting others off, often struggle with maintaining long-term, meaningful connections. They might find themselves in a cycle of brief, intense relationships that fizzle out quickly. Moreover, cutting people off can lead to a loss of diverse perspectives. Each person in your life offers a unique viewpoint. When you remove someone from your life, you're also removing their insights and experiences. For example, an old colleague might have valuable advice for your current job, or a former friend could introduce you to new hobbies you'd never consider on your own. By cutting people off, you're essentially narrowing your world. It's like choosing to eat at the same restaurant every day instead of exploring the vast culinary world out there. Sure, you might know what to expect, but you're also missing out on so much more. You've seen it before. Someone you thought you knew suddenly disappears. No calls, no texts, just silence. It's confusing, right? But now you understand why. People who cut everyone off often do it to protect themselves. It's not about you. It's about them and their need to regain control, to escape overwhelming emotions, or to avoid situations they can't handle. So, what can you do? First, accept that you can't change their behavior, but you can change how you react. Don't take it personally. It's not a reflection of you. Instead, focus on the relationships that are open and honest. Nurture those connections. They're the ones that will bring you joy and support. If you found this video helpful, maybe you'll want to explore more about relationships. Subscribe to our channel for the next video, where we'll dive into the psychology of forgiveness. Why do we forgive? When should we? And when is it okay to let go? It's a complex topic, and we can't wait to share what we've learned. Remember, understanding someone doesn't mean you have to tolerate hurtful behavior. It's about empathy, about seeing the world through their eyes. And maybe, just maybe, it'll help you navigate your relationships with a bit more compassion. See you in the next video.